All right,
And the
so
meat distribution.
and the meat, the very heavy meat distribution of the stream. So we are here today to join in holy match. Wait, no, sorry, wrong. Too many weddings this year. We are here today to distribute a metric ton of meat and prizes for the NSFW AI contest that we've been running for the past few months at the Ascension Speed Society. There were 52 entrants, and we are going to be giving each of them an item of the month or a Mr. Accessory. Um, I have put a frankly stupid amount of work to the spreadsheets to make this hopefully a very simple and fun little stream. But we'll see if that all works. So along the way, we're going to have some of the top speedrunners, Thoth, Erosion Seeker, and potentially some others get on throughout the stream and give thoughts on their run, thoughts on the path, general strategy stuff. Tess can talk a lot about why sicko mode is the new hotness. Although I would argue that it was already the hotness in Avatar of Shadows over Loathing, but it is now like the red hotness. It is now like alarmingly hot. We are very nervous about it. That's how hot it is. Um, but having said all of that, do my co-streamers want to briefly introduce themselves?
Yes. Um, I'm Neil, Fred, Sweaty Bill, whatever you want to call me. I'm here to be a smart idiot because I don't know anything about this path, but I have a lot of questions. And that's what I am here for.
Beautiful.
I am Tess, the Erosion Seeker. I am famously fearful of spreadsheets and do not use them while ascending.
That is true. I always forget about that, and then every time you mention it, I become newly fearful of you.
I will say that is pretty scary. I guess I'm going next. I'm Thoth. I hang out with Ilsis and Canon, and we do speedruns together. It's pretty fun. Um, I guess we do softcore stuff because Canon really likes softcore.
It's because he is a softcore little man. Although I will say that because I got the gold in this path, I do actually think that I am the littlest softcore man of all. What's the best way to phrase that, Fred?
The shortest king.
That's good. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. And Canon can't speak in the chat, so give me 1 second. Uh, Canon, try again. You might have to like leave and then rejoin.
Hello, I'm Cannon Fire. I am a player dev. I like ascending. Yeah, no, I don't know to what extent I need to introduce myself.
Awesome. All right, we've got a few others in chat. I know Frigley did some absolutely incredible work this path. Totally, I am happy to enable your mic in a little bit, Frigley. I just would like to actually start sending out prizes so that this stream doesn't end up being 3 hours long. But Frigley, just let me know when you want to jump in on a question, and I'll jump in and enable your mic. So awesome. Um, so before we start, I just wanted to show off my insane set of spreadsheets. One thing that is not currently public but will be public after the path is I'm building a large repository of run logs and commentary from all of the entered runs. So you'll be able to see links to the run logs for every single one of these. As you can see, there's a handful that I haven't actually added to the sheet yet. Um, you can see the percentage of the standard set that they had when running the item of the month for all but three of our entrants, Gizmo Finch, Hastifer Arken, and JAD. You'll also notice that there's a handful of notes here, so you can see like who got a commendation. If the commendation is bold and italicized, that's actually their first commendation, which is super cool. And you can also see whether it was a 100% familiar run and which familiar they used, which I did want to explicitly highlight that Valera did a 100% Black Cat hardcore run for this contest, which I think is one of the funniest runs that we had submitted. Maybe not funnier than the 69-day 420 turn run that Italian chef Pastaway did, but definitely up there for best best joke. So cool. I also have this crazy sheet here that has a really large concatenation that builds the entire command to send out the prizes. Throughout the chat, as we send out prizes, this yellow number up here will show the total amount of meat that we've sent out. Um, it's not quite accurate because we're also going to be sending out 1.3 billion in extra stuff with 13 Mr. Accessories, 220 million of annotation and commendation bonuses, and the top 6 raw prize meat. But once we show all of that, I don't actually know what the final total is going to be. I think it's going to be like 6 to 7 billion, but not sure off the top of my head, and we'll see at the end how much we actually end up sending out. So, having been through all of that, Fred, do you want to start with a question while I start sending out prizes?
Yes, but before we get into this in earnest, I'd like to ask our listeners too, if you haven't done so already, call your congressman, your MP, your senator, anyone with any political sway and any obligation to listen to you, and demand that your country call for a ceasefire in Gaza. It's extremely easy to do, and peace can only be achieved through overwhelming political pressure, and it seems really close, like now, so extra important. Thank you. My first question about the path is, so one of the some of the more obvious like path deviation restrictions include, the organs and the lack of unlimited access to the campground and things like that. But one of the more interesting restrictions to me was the having all of your stats set to 1 and being able to equip anything in the world. How much did that come into play? And if the answer is not so much, what are some other ways that this path could have been set up to make that more important?
Do we want to have like a moderator or like an order in which we answer this?
Good question. I should have probably organized that, but I didn't. So my ask would just be I think you can start and then just like shoot to one of the other 3 right after you. Like, so you might go like Thoth, then Cannon, then Tess, then I can go next.
Fair enough. Um, so I think the organs are kind of make this a little easy for softcore. So I don't think that's super relevant here. I also didn't really notice the campground too much. I think the real problem for the campground, honestly, is that it's really easy to misclick when you go to your workshed and burn a turn. And in the practice run, I think I did that twice. Um, and I think other people's that I was helping and like watched with also lost a turn here or two. So having a /go workshed command is actually really helpful. Like surprisingly so. Um, in terms of the stats also cost a little bit in terms of like missed fights. I'm pretty sure. I would assume most people have lost at least one fight accidentally, but it turns out losing a fight actually doesn't really hurt that much in a lot of places if it was not a fight you really cared about. And for most fights you care about, you probably like buffed up and made sure you didn't lose. I know people spent like some resources on quality of life pulls, but ultimately with like a fully statted out adventure with a fully statted out set of items of the month, I don't think the low HP was super impactful until you get to the tower. Um, I think this path could have been a lot harder, but maybe more awful. If it did something like forced you to eat ghost peppers, that would solidly have made it very impactful. Um, I'm gonna say popcorn and call to someone else.
I'm gonna
I
put
I
someone on
could
the
speak,
spot. Okay, never
but
mind.
what I would have to say is a lot about design wise, since I did the testing for the path to make sure that it was playable and not awful. Um, so I think the organs are less of a nerf, or at least we didn't conceptualize them as a nerf in this path. They're better than normal. I mean, you have a 2 fullness and 1 drunkenness, but that really just means you eat the best possible things that go in those slots. And because it's multiplied by 10, it's like having 20 and 10 instead of 15 and 15. And since the cookbook bat is stupid, you just generate more turns more easily using fewer resources in this path than you would otherwise. And that was kind of intended. Um, but with regards to your stats being at 1, this is one of those things where when you're testing something like this or designing something like this, uh, combat in KOL is close to an impossible problem to make work at all scales because when you have all of the items of the month, uh, because we release combat stuff once in a while, uh, you will almost certainly be able to solve any combat we throw at you, no matter what you have. Because if we make combats hard enough that a player with all of the items of the month has to put in work to handle them, a player who doesn't have any will find it close to impossible. And the necessity of making it workable at both a fully green boxed kit and at a new player kit makes it very, very difficult to make the stat restriction and the combat difficulty particularly challenging for a speed ascension context where you kind of assume everyone has lots of shiny things. One thing I did find really interesting from a kind of routing inducement thing is that we tried to do a path like this in 2015 or so called Small after we did Big, where you would have been level 5 the whole time and unable to level up. And we canceled that when we found into testing that no one enjoyed the path and no one had played it long enough to find out that it was impossible to complete because you couldn't equip gear with stat requirements. So we just turned off all gear stat requirements for this path, which I thought was really, really interesting. I don't know how much it actually affected routing, but I thought that it would be neat.
Yeah, that was the most interesting sounding path deviation at the very beginning, but it does kind of sound like not even Dread Sylvania equipment ended up being very useful. The wine glass would only be good for the tower, and it's not good for the tower, both because you can't do it and because of the shadow. And I think some people talked about using the Unkillable Skeleton's breastplate as like a meme pull, but the problem is that nobody was a turtle tamer. Nobody's ever a turtle tamer.
Yeah, if TT had happened to get one of the good Bofa seeds, or had actually had a survival knife, I think there would have been potentially some jokes there, because, like, I ended up spending how many pulls on it? I think I spent 2 pulls on Familiar XP in my softcore run. And I considered doing a third, and although using the shirt for it wouldn't have been perfect, it would have actually given me some like serious leeway on the fights that I ended up doing all of my Guso nonsense with. So it would have at least given me some pause and some consideration. I think I would have ended up not doing it in the end, but it would have at least been pretty close.
Feels like a pretty natural transition to start talking about sicko mode. And as the namer of it and the creator of the most popular graphic about it, Pest, could you explain to us what exactly sicko mode is?
So it is the most complicated ascension strategy in which you do everything you can to accumulate 100 or so Grey Goose drones, and then you take those and copy and fight a bunch of green ops soldiers and try to force the drops. So they drop 2 green smoke bombs each, and you do this for something close to 40 green ops soldiers, which predictably translates to a lot of free runaways, which you then use to free runaway from the entire rest of the Ascension.
So my first question about sicko mode is just, I feel like I've been hearing more complaints about sicko mode lately, even though it's been a strategy since roughly Avatar of Shadows over Loathing. Is there anything that about Small that makes sicko mode worse, or is it just that we've gotten more items of the month that make things worse, or is it just that we're less busy being distracted by a cool avatar path, and so we have more time to complain about sicko mode? Like, why am I hearing more about this?
I think part of it is definitely because now there are more people aware of it and kind of refining the strategy. Like in Avatar of Shadows, there wasn't really a concrete plan for how to make it work, and I only started doing the thing on day 2. Whereas now I've kind of realized that you also have to start it on day 1 to get 12 or so extra green smoke bombs. And the other part of this is because basically every item of the month released this year after May has had some kind of stupid interaction with Sicko. In the 2002 Mr. Store catalog, you have the Pro Skateboard, which doubles drops in one fight, which you use on both days. So that's 4 extra green smoke bombs. You get 4 VHS tapes, which is another 4 green op soldiers fights, which means another 8 green smoke bombs. You have the Eagle, which forces the rest of the battlefield to become green op soldiers. And you have things like the Book of Facts giving you pocket wishes to actually create these green ops soldiers. And you have even things like the Dark Jill or the Guide to Leaves help you generate more drones conveniently to apply those VHS fights.
So part of it is just that sicko mode has gotten a lot worse through the natural progression of items of the month than the natural progression of standard. That
Oh,
makes sense.
absolutely.
So in a very abstract sense, to me at least, sicko mode seems sort of like the issue is that we have a very large number of items of the month that are very synergistic with one another. And I was asking Scotch questions to this about this a few days ago, but I wanted to sort of open up the floor to them. And that is sort of, is something like sicko mode always going to happen when we have a standard set that's really, really internally synergistic with things like several things that give familiar experience and one thing that loves to have familiar experience and something that lets you fight, oops, all grops? Or is there something really particular about the way this is set up where it's not just that we have a bunch of internally synergistic item of the months and we want to put them all towards the same thing, and instead that we don't expect this to really happen a second time if there's another critical density synergistic standard set? I hope that question makes sense.
Well, actually, a thing that I noticed a while ago is that, well, a thing that probably a lot of people noticed a while ago is that Green Ops Soldiers has almost always been the most valuable thing to copy and Yellow Ray because they just give extra turn saves. Back in 2016 with the Source Terminal and in 2017 with the Space Jellyfish, the premier strat there was to digitize the Green Ops Soldier and then use Spooky Jelly to get 2 Green Ops or green smoke bombs from each fight. Then later in 2019, we had the Champagne Saber combo where you wish for a Green Ops Soldier, you saber it to get 3 fights, and then you do those with the Champagne bottle to try and get 2 smoke bombs from each. And then later again in 2021, you had the Emotion Chip and Camel Spit to get 4 green smoke bombs from each fight, and also hopefully the thing that you nostalgiaed onto, such as bowling balls or short writs or other things that all contribute to turn savings. And now we have kind of the same strategy again, set up slightly differently, but with the same outcome, where you're just fighting as many green off soldiers as you can to get as many free runaways as you can.
And part of what makes this work is that you never run out of green ops soldiers that you want to fight. The war is like 50 fucking turns long. You're never going to be at a point where you're like, okay, I'm all full. I guess free runs are nice, but I don't need to fight any more green ops soldiers. because we're never at a point where we're fighting, 50 of them with full item copying and so on and so forth. We have the ability to spend unlimited resources on this, which is not strictly true with some other quest locations. You can only copy 2 ninja snowmen, 3 if we count like the original summoner as a copy, before it stops being useful to do that. You can only fight, I guess, writing desks haven't been copyable for like a decade, but even then, you can only fight 5 of those and get a meaningful benefit out of it. Whereas you can fight, however long the war is, green ops soldiers, and every single one of them is money in your pocket. Which is pretty crazy. That so green ops soldiers being in this very unique position seems to be part of what makes sicko mode so problematic. It's not just that we have a great density of item of the month synergies, it's also that we have like this really ideal place to put all of this shit.
Not only
I feel
that,
like
but it's also because a lot of the resources that you can use on Sicko are either cannot be used productively otherwise, or this is just straight up better. Like for most monkey paw wishes, you might be able to save 1 or 2 turns out of them, but if you can get if it pushes you past the threshold where you can reliably get green smoke bombs, wishing for a bunch of plus item effects effectively means that each of them is worth several turns. And because that value comparison is so skewed in favor of this, it just makes sense to do this instead of anything else.
so. If the powers that be wanted to nerf sicko mode somehow without actually nerfing anything, which for what it's worth, I feel like there's stuff that might need nerfing there. One thing
I
they
don't
could do
feel
would
like
be
we're
to
trying to
release
avoid
other
nerfing
sources of
things.
resources. Yeah, I know. But I'm essentially saying one thing that would make sicko mode less annoying or problematic would be dragging away resources from sicko mode and giving them other places to go. But it's probably an actual nerf would be better. I'm just curious. I don't know. Anyone else have any thoughts on sicko mode? Feel like we've had a bit of a back and forth for a little while.
So I'd like to make, I think, about 2 comments here. One comment is that what Tess brought up, right, is there's this repetitive nature of drops being super important. One thing that I'd like to cheer on is the fact that familiar experience matters for the first time in I don't know how many years. So that's kind of cute. I remember being a new player and being familiar experience is really cool. I should level up my familiars, because like the old tower, it actually mattered. And then you get all these premium familiars, none of them care about weight. So like, I kind of actually appreciate that the goose cares about weight. It sucks to execute, but I don't know, I think that's pretty cool.
Well, the
Another
goose
thing
doesn't
think
care
so,
about
too.
weight, it cares about experience, right? Like, I want us to make something that
Sure.
cares about familiar weight again, and I think it's kind of bad that we haven't done that in, like, 3 or 4 years.
This
I
is
mean,
a drum that I will never
it's
stop banging.
I think it's more than 3 or 4 years because I think it's the Pocket
the Pocket
Professor
Professor.
in 19
Jill
is the
doesn't
last
actually
thing.
care about familiar weight,
No.
Kazi, in the chat. Jill scales with familiar weight, but it doesn't care about it in the way that something like the Pocket Professor did, which is what we all mean.
So,
right, because adding less familiar weight will give diminishing returns on Jill just because of the square root and the fairy formula.
It also has a linear component, though.
Yeah,
the square root
still,
dominates at low weights, but the linear component dominates at high weights.
It's still like getting a plus 10 or 20 familiar weight buff is not going to meaningfully save you turns over using that resource in something else in standard, and I wish that we had something that cared about familiar weight again.
Me too.
Sometimes have stuff that cares about familiar weight. Just this year in Legacy of Loathing, you had the Bender, which if you were smart about it, you could get
That is true.
2 extra free runs by doing a really stupid thing to level it from 10 to 20 if you had the short order cook.
And just last year, we had the Frumious Bandersnatch in Quantum Terrarium, where there was a really dumb thing you could do to level it up extra fast. Okay.
What I'm hearing is that we liked the Bandersnatch and we should bring it back.
Yes.
Sure.
That's another drum that I will
Why
stop
not?
banging.
Here's my take on the Bandersnatch is that it would be fine to bring it back. I think there should be probably a cap on the number of runs it gives you in some way. Or I like the way that Pocket Professor had decaying value at certain high weights where you could still get extra value, but it wasn't just, a universal 5 equals -1 turn. And I also think that the Bander's combat skills were the coolest part of it, and it probably should be there should be some use for the rest of the combat skills other than just you use a handful of them on an elemental fight to get your weight up really, really quickly. Right.
They had
God,
great
remember when
flavor.
Smust was good?
I do. It was nice.
So the other point I wanted to make that I think people haven't really talked about with these green smoke bombs, right, is that the green smoke bombs actually don't have a 100% chance of generating a free runaway. They only have 0.9. And
It's true.
I don't know, maybe I'm a terrible person, but I really hate that variance. Because
It's
you
not
go do
great.
all the work, you eke out one extra smoke bomb, and you're like, oh, RNG screws you, and then you're really sad. So I really hate that variance.
Have you considered such strategies as having good luck?
Yes, I have heavily considered just being luckier.
Sounds like
And
you
it
know what to
feels
do.
worse when you Funksling 2 and
Skill
they
issue.
both fail.
Yeah, so my last run before my final run was just an immensely cursed run in so many ways, but the biggest curse I had was that I believe my smoke bombs ended up being like 60% efficacy or something. It was really bad. I was like, what is going on? Okay, who did that? And also I love you. One quick note on the prize distribution. So I noted this in the chat, but I want to make sure it's there for anyone who watches this on stream later. Um, so Duskaco deserves a lot of props from the community. Duskaco proactively reached out to me and asked me to swap their placement with the entrant with the fewest items of the month. So as a result, our 7th place winner, instead of being Dusk, is actually going to be I'm going to mispronounce this, but Kintio, who entered with a tortoise core run of 6 days, 425 turns, with just 2 item of the months out of the 35 in the familiar or in the standard set. So, which is pretty dope. So I did want to also bring this up to the collected group here. Kintio wanted us to rank items of the month by the like speed run value of them according to the tier chart, which would mean that he'd be getting a packaged cold medicine cabinet. I'm not sure if that's actually the best one to give someone, especially since it's about to leave standard. Does anyone have any concerns with me potentially sending out a Jurassic Parka? Or a backup
My
camera?
instinct was Bofa, unless Bofa is one of the two.
It's one of the
which
two,
case-
yeah.
Okay, yeah, Parka makes sense.
What do you all think? This is slightly overriding someone's ranking, and I guess
I think it is a tradition to send out parkas instead of what people were supposed to get, so I support this.
ooh, that's a really good point. Yeah, no, I think that's just gonna happen. That seems like an easy
Much less white elephant gift than a cold medicine cabinet.
yeah, I feel like if I send the cold medicine cabinet, then just leave KOL. Which, to be fair, I know Tess, you and I have had light discussions about how CMC isn't that bad. Like, it's not great, but it's certainly not as bad to play as Sicko, where every single combat is just like a new hell that you're put in.
I was amazed at how comfortable the cabinet was in this run.
Yeah,
Well,
the other
compared to
thing
Sicko
too,
anyway.
in one day, the cabinet's actually really easy. Like, it is not that big a deal in a 1 day run.
Yeah, it's actually pretty nice. Like, it made some awkward routing with Automnaton, but other than that, it was really not that bad.
Leaves exist. You do not care about missing the Automnaton window. Because you can just trigger a free fight whenever you want.
Yeah. Although, it depends on if you were doing what I did, which was just using my carbohydrate cudgels to make the leaflets good sicko fights.
Oh, that's really smart. That's cool tech.
Do you mean your monkey slaps? Because that's what we did.
You also could do a monkey slap. I was worried monkey slap wouldn't work, and I kept not being able to test it because I would forget to do it early in the day and then be like, oh crap, Garbo used my wishes for good reason. So
Yeah, I don't know,
Anything you
man.
can
Like,
cudgel, you can slap.
what's that?
Anything you can cudgel, you can also slap.
Oh, that's fair.
I take
yeah,
that
monkey
as a
slap,
piece of life advice.
monkey slap and cleash are like the two best skills. Like, I don't know why you would sleep on monkey slap. It's like as good as cleash.
It's really good, especially in the era we're in where you want to destroy monster drop tables. Like, honestly, I feel like it's kind of sad that Goose wasn't around for Wildfire because it would have been very funny in Wildfire to just be like, ooh, I need to go into a zone where every drop is going to get burned up and make it easy for Goose to generate drones. But let me see here. All right.
So one other thing I'd like to point out, because you mentioned this really impressive low item of the month run. I think it would be really cool if we were able to do, hey, can I turn off most of my items of the month temporarily and compete on like some other board? And I know that Bad Moon sort of does this, but Bad Moon's very broken.
Unfortunately, yeah, it is. I know. I think Gossi in the chat has been in Bad Moon for a little while, trying to figure out all of the ways that Bad Moon is broken. There's a lot of items of the month that just kind of sneak in there, which makes sense. Like Bad Moon is, to my understanding, canon very hard coded, right?
Yeah, so there is no generic system for item of the month stuff. We kind of ran into this when I was testing Legacy of Loathing when I went through everything and tried to find errors. But Bad Moon requires all new items of the month to be like blacklisted by hand. And if they do anything that is not, just being an item, which is all modern items of the month, then it requires like CDM's attention, and nobody really cares about Bad Moon, so it doesn't get taken care of in a timely manner. Yeah, Gauzy points out that familiars are taken care of automatically. So items of the month are tagged internally Mr. Store, and that's like what the boneless blocking in Legacy Loading relies on. Is when an item has the Mr. Store tag. Anything with that tag will work in the Moon to some extent, but any non-standard behaviors just work because they have to be completely manually blacklisted.
You also have to make sure that that players can't pull the package version, and also their subscription bot doesn't send the packaged version to.
You say have to, and yet I find that it appears we do not have to. It's broken.
I mean,
It's fair
if
point.
you wanted to be not broken, it would be very great if it was not optimal to do things like happen to come back from a hiatus, do a Bad Moon Ascension where you can use a retro tape.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is kind of a shame that it is broken. I don't really foresee it not being broken, but I think it's just a question of them not actually caring about Bad Moon.
Sounds like Sauce earlier was advocating for people to be able to self-impose standard restrictions on all challenge paths. Please let me put those words into your mouth. I love to bang drums.
It would be nice.
That is pretty similar to what I was thinking. Mostly because it means that like I don't know how a modern new player would play this game. I have absolutely no idea, and I have no way of figuring that out very easily without doing a lot of really painful work. I also know that there's a game that was based on KOL. I forget the name of it, where you play as a superhero, and they have the ability to make modular challenge paths, which was super cool. But I never actually finished a whole run of it because the community looked dead and it was kind of painful. But yeah, I thought that would be pretty cool.
Speaking of which, Scotch, I know you're a very busy man with this. Have you managed to look at any, like, in-depth any of logs of some of the were item of the month players of the last shiny people? If so, is there anything that sort of surprised you or jumped out?
A few. I think that. So I looked pretty heavily through, ironically, Kintio's log, and we just distributed the prize for. One thing that I thought was really impressive and interesting was that playing a tortoise core or soft core as a low shiny player is probably in one of the better places that the game has ever been. There were just so many really high value pulls that they were able to pull off. And now, granted, some of this is just due to the inherent nature of small, right? Because of the fact that small allows you to pull, basically just deal with your diet, you don't need to devote serious pulls to diet, especially in a tortoise core run where you've got enough turns with basically just random stuff that drops in run. But the fact that you can pull breathe it ins, you can pull batteries, which I don't think Kintio pulled, but you can pull a lot of the Smut Orc stuff. Like, Kintio was able to replicate a lot of the features of the modern item of the month set just by pulling various things that you don't necessarily realize, but just like every pull that Quintio had was worth probably 4 or 5 turns to someone with absolutely no items of the month, with the exception of Bofa and Jill. And I thought that was really, really interesting. This also goes double for Seminar, the much respected Spader that was able to get basically crush Kenny in softcore, despite starting the path with almost no items of the month and still ending it with very few. I think by the end of the path, I would need to look at my sheet. Seminar had 46% of a standard set, and he started with about 20%. Or wait, no, sorry, looking at the wrong person. Seminar ended at 30% of a full standard set, which is pretty wild to still end up getting a bronze with a well planned 2-day softcore. Yeah. One thing that I'm very excited about, and I'll switch to this just to show this off again. I think that this log repository is going to be really interesting for anyone that isn't at kind of that 100% item of the month, because you're going to have lots of logs you can look at that are potentially similar to you in terms of
That's so cool.
hey, I don't actually have all of the shinies in standard. I might not have Goose. Even if you do have Goose, these 100% familiar runs show you how to execute a pretty fast run without doing Goose stuff. I think there's going to be at least some like moderately helpful stuff here that should help people in the future get at least.
If anybody read my old QT write up, I'm gonna do one for this path, and hopefully try and make it similar in quality.
Did we ever actually release a QT write up? I know we talked about it, but I don't remember if we actually released that.
I'm pretty sure it's linked in useful resources in this Discord.
I believe you
Pretty
did.
sure Scotch posted it for, like, linked it there.
Yeah, I think I linked it there. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure I did.
It's not in useful resources, it looks like, just the orb thing.
It might be pinned in one frame or something. Part of the reason for doing this contest is I wanted to try and revitalize the old massive standard repository sheet that A Sawyer used to keep up to date. Hopefully this like large mat of logs I can start doing this kind of on a path by path basis, although ideally with data entry than I did for this particular one. But I think that this kind of collection of logs and intelligence for each path is going to be a valuable thing for I say future speedrunners of Loathing to look at in the future.
It does not appear to be pinned in the QT
All right. Well,
channel.
I think it's somewhere, but maybe it's not. It seems pretty likely that it's not. So my bad,
my memory is that we talked about posting it and then never actually did. But maybe thought the members right and I don't.
If we didn't post it, I'm gonna be kind of sad, and I'm gonna demand people read it because I spent so many hours writing a like I don't know how long document on this thing, and gosh darn it, people are gonna read about how great the camel was.
The camel was my favorite familiar of all time, and I still think is one of the best familiars. Although I think at this point, after doing enough math on Goose, I've admitted that Goose is better than Camel in terms of value, kind of pound for pound. Although Camel does have a synergy with Emotion Ship, which is very, very, very powerful.
Kind of unfair to compare comparisons as the Goose is so heavier.
Good point.
Well, I mean, not if you're trying to max out your cold resistance.
Good point. Also,
it's
that
only
came
hot
up during a
resistance that you
Crimbo.
needed to maximize, never cold.
Damn. Sometimes sleaze, right? Or does no one ever do the Moxie path for Bletch House?
We don't do that's for it because of the train set, but even before that,
Oh,
we
yeah.
could.
Yeah, I think the
You
sleep
could
path
reliably
is.
get
Go ahead.
enough stats and resist to do the sleeves path comfortably.
Even in most challenge paths, the sleep path was significantly better. It just scales a lot nicer than weapon damage percent or spell damage percent. Basically every meta. Even if you're not a class, which most of them you're not.
You can't do it any more now because they're familiar with that one turn. But before you could even nerf like both sleeves for resist, and that was good coverage for Black House and Zeppelin at the same time.
On an unrelated note, sorry, you go.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm pretty happy that because of the way the seeds worked out, we saw people do things that weren't seal clubber. That was really convenient to like, or convenient or anything like it, but it was really neat to get to see something that wasn't seal clubber get used.
It is
On the
weird
other
that
hand,
Skill Clubber seems to consistently get good seeds, but I think that's probably the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon.
yeah, I like that it was over that was this, but I'm also kind of sad that survival life is so meta warping in terms of seed importance.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think it's basically not viable to take classes that don't have the survival life. I'm not sure it's survival, but it's survival life's good. I think.
So
The other things you get in seeds.
I think there's one seed benefit. I think Tess, we talked about this before as well, but I think there's one seed benefit that is at least on par with the survival knife, which is Black Crayon Orcs giving you tatters. If Black Crayon Orcs, if you're in a seed, Black Crayon Orcs give you tatters, you can basically count on that being, you could just use that as your bow target both days and effectively do 22 tatters over a normal run, which is effectively 11 turns, which is more than a survival knife. It's a little bit more shaky in one day, but in a 2-day run, I think that an Orc tatter seed is actually better than a survival knife seed. It's just that that's kind of rare and you need a certain confluence of things to make that work. Tess, any other
Whenever that
thoughts
happens,
there?
I look forward to people like complaining about the variants on Tanners. They keep it worse than the smoke bombs.
Yeah, it sucks.
That's gonna be me.
I know it's gonna be you complaining to me like in person. It'll be great.
I think it's going to be everyone.
I mean,
Quick embarrassing question. What's special about Orcs? Or is it just a black crayon monster?
The BOFA has specific benefits when you kill monsters,
Oh,
and one of
yeah.
the possible benefits that an orc can have is that it can drop Tanners to
Okay, I didn't realize that tatters were restricted to Orcs. That makes sense. Okay.
So the ideal thing would be the Black Crayon Orc, which is a free fight, which scales, and if it gave tatters, then you would basically be turned positive every time you fight one.
It's the
Regarding
version
the
of
Steel Clubber dominance, and that has actually not been true for the past several years. In Journeyman, for hardcore, the top run design was disbanded because of good seeding on the skills. In Wildfire, I think it was Wildfire might have been clever, but in Fall of Dynasty, it was Postmaster.
In U-Robot, it was, I think, Disco Bandit, but I don't quite remember. They don't think he's clever. That
No,
might be
you-
long.
you
When
know,
Autoscend Wildfire, was it just because Postmaster got survival knife?
Yes, unfortunate. Wait, no. For Fall of the Dinosaurs, yes, you did the survival knife, but the other funny reason why it was best was because the Spaghetti Elemental can stagger Velociraptors.
That is pretty cute. I think class differences like really matter.
Yeah, Pastamon's really good for that. I know it is funny because Seal Clubber tends to get the best seeds, but to your point, that hasn't necessarily been true every path. I think that the Seal Clubber dominance, I do think that with Sicko mode being so important though, those extra 5 free fights might end up being a difference maker with just seals in general. Assuming that of course the unlock remains in the Busters of Outnom, which maybe it will, maybe it won't, who knows. But like I do
But
think
they
that
generate drones for all green ops fights, so more free fights to generate drones on might not necessarily be useful.
yeah, it depends
But I
on
do
the
like Batter Up still.
yeah, and Batter Up is just strong. I
Very
mean,
obviously powerful.
yeah, especially because in softcore, I don't know if you all experienced this, Canon and Both, but I had a point near the end of the run where I was really wishing Monkey Slap was back. I was like, oh my god, I need.
We did not get rid of Monkey Slap until our final 30 or 40 turns, specifically because we knew it missed it so much.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
We routed specifically around not missing Monkey Slap.
That is kind of funny. Not saying that is on
Yeah, I think the other thing that's kind of under the Monkey Slap, I mean, with the free kill cliche stuff is funny because it removes drops, but it's a banish, and I use a banish horror, especially in the later stages, where you just don't have that many banishes after killing your Nazi and having that felt very nice in the later stages.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think is a major, like, I don't know, Monkey Slap by itself. It's not like by itself like an item of the month, but it is very good. Like, I
It's a
don't.
very good piece of an otherwise pretty decent item.
Yeah.
Like it has +20 spooky for layer cast. When it first came out, it was +2 resist for Avatar Castle Living, which you needed for the Haunted Kitchen.
Yeah, the resist is nice. Obviously, and now Monkey Point is also I mean, if you combine Monkey Point with Heal, it basically replicates vanishes later in the run, which was what I tried and mostly succeeded in doing in my run. It is one of those things where it's just so strong. Like it's just absurdly strong. It's ridiculous.
I find it really fun that an item that seemed like it was going to be really strong because of the wishes is actually really strong because of the combat skills. They're like, do we really need an extra olfact? Do we really need an extra banish? Well, turns out they're actually pretty nice, and I think that makes the item really fun.
I think so too. I would also say that like To be fair, Monkey Point being powerful is less about that item and more about how busted Eagle is, right? Like, Monkey Point itself is powerful and fine, but it's not game breaking. It's when you combine it with banish almost everything else in the phylum that's like, oh wait, no, this actually completely rules, right?
It's pretty good if it stays for more than 1 day, but without Eagle, it's basically useless.
Yeah, the fact that it goes over rollover is also very cool. Cannon, were you aware of this?
I was pretty sure I knew that it was a flag and not a daily flag. I don't know that I'd spend any time thinking about that being true, but yes. So I think it was like a conscious design decision that we did on purpose. I didn't see why just use a flag instead of a daily flag.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't think that it's unbalanced necessarily.
Yeah.
Obviously, like Tess, you and Frigley use that to great power in your individual runs, right?
Well, I was only able to point the problem because I had not been so fun, so not need to use that trick anywhere else. Yeah, it's very important, I'd say.
The other big thing is that on day 2, you end up in this cool zone where you still have point active, and you can keep it active for a very long period of time. But you also get lucky slapbacks. You could have the benefits of basically both of the best skills, which is really neat.
I have a quick question, and I'm going to disappear to the night kind of soon. But it wasn't until November that we really started to see contest logs pouring in. That's a very rational decision to not really want to spend a lot of time on it until the last path comes out. But I guess my question is then, how influential was the pile of leads in this path? I get the feeling that the answer is not very much, but I know that Scott had some very weird bullshit that he did that was cool. And I guess, too, some weird bullshit we did with that pile of leads, where we actually excludes myself.
I'll let somebody else go first.
Well, even though they're not really that important, I thought it was a convenient to have. First of all, it lets you get a free fight whenever you want, which is really useful when you want to get someone back. So, as a runaway, which lets you more conveniently use the densely line of fights that you otherwise would not be able to use auto attacks on.
I dropped off for a second, folks. I totally missed that, though. Okay.
Just, it's very nice to have on-demand fights for several reasons. Because there's a lot of weird bullshit as far as I'm aware. But I suppose it's weird bullshit.
Yeah, so I didn't have that much weird bullshit. I think the one piece of weird bullshit is that it's a free run to use the leaves, but that's actually good because it lets you signature on a situation where you otherwise wouldn't be able to, which I think that's, you probably just mentioned, so I hopped off. But that's the other cool thing. I think the other nice-ish thing, which doesn't really matter that much, but it was kind of neat, was the autumn bomb allowing tower killing for a greater percentage of users for the wall of bones, which is small. It wasn't trivial to tower kill. I think in hardcore you could easily argue that it was trivial. I don't think it was trivial in software. I was pretty good at the boning knife, even though I was pretty sure that it would have been super doable with the autumn bomb plus just the various crappy things that had dropped throughout my run. But I also didn't want to think about it 30 minutes until over, which is when I actually hit the boning knife. I'm also seeing in the chat that apparently my multipliers didn't paste correctly. Did any... Okay, let me try and figure this out, because I feel very bad if this meant people got shitty prizes when they deserve better prizes, and I very much apologize for that. Which ones are specifically fun? Anyone know? Let's see. Oh, good. Alright.
I've been not reading the live event channel. I probably should be, but too late. I'm disappearing. Speed.
Yeah. Alright, I will see you, Bill. Thank you for staying on for that. For doing some moderation here. I appreciate it. Alright, wait, what happened? I am not actually sure what happened here and why. Candles stuff. Candles. You said the umbrella is also messed up. Yeah, looks like umbrella's 190. Okay, phone candles are too high, extend goes too low. So I think it's about to go up to Google.
That's also kind of why it might not deserve as high of a useful ranking.
For which one?
For Extingo, because it's going to expire.
Yeah, that is true. Okay. Alright, so Extingo is... Alright, what's the price for Extingo? That's not cool. Sorry for the inconvenient content here as I try to fix. I knew there was going to be one problem with the sheet, I just had no idea what that problem was going to be. Alright, so Extingo probably should have gone to the Cleaver, which I believe was Lenny. Okay, wait, let's see what happened. The mall price was an index match on a different sheet where I was doing the ranking. I thought there was like an exact match problem here. Extingo, candles, and was the other one that got messed up? Umbrella, three that I had match issues with earlier. Alright, are those the only ones that are messed up? If so, I kind of just want to like keep going with what we got, and in the aftermath, we can try to figure out who got those three and they can send them around, because I'm not actually that. I would send all of these out. Oh, wait, phone. What's the closed circuit phone system? Oh, wow. Yeah, it's 50. Oh, God.
That's pretty weird, because whenever it creeps off, someone tries to sell it and it comes right back down.
Yeah. Alright, well, let me view sheets. Y'all are going to start to see some of how awful sausage of my extremely overcomplicated sheets made. Alright, so ranking clan
I
VIP
find
lab.
that some of the shadow bosses are kind of hard, or at least don't just die to you attack with cleaver.
Let's see, Fire Extinguisher. Oh my god. I'm sorry for the small pause in the stream, folks. I looked up all of these prices like 2 days ago, so this was pretty recent. Okay, continuing leaves, Scepter, Autoscend. Autoscend is fine, I think. I'll update it anyway, though. Closed circuit phone system is correct, actually. That's 71. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Xingo is correct-ish.
Kind of knew that.
Yeah, okay.
Perhaps you could be the problem master waiting on Scotch.
Sure, hit me with a problem.
So my father's quite elderly, and recently he's been insisting to watch the car with me for like the last, I don't know, 6 months or so every Sunday. And this is a problem because I just don't understand why he can't use it.
I don't know how to respond to this.
I also don't know how to respond to this at all.
I'm very sick of being wet and soaked every single Sunday. It's just my wife. It just annoys my wife. It's ruining my home.
That is definitely a bit that I'm not getting.
My father is about to cat with me.
Oh, okay.
What? I'm still not getting it, sorry.
As in not with us, as in with.
Oh, god damn it.
I didn't get that until.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
here are all my folks.
who did the sound effect there? The sound effect is good. I'm a fan of that. Oh god. Actually, now that I think about it, this isn't going to help because Alright, I want you to even more sausage was made. I manually used a rank builder and examined the ranks for each person to make sure that they made sense before they went in the sheet. So updating the sheet is not actually going to just like pull through and update everything. God damn it. Also, Asmo, that is not totally correct because there's a hidden column that has the correct name. Because I messed up the helper sheet for the ranker and I didn't include the like exact game names, but I didn't want to make people re-put in all of their work. So, yeah. Anyways. Great. I'm having some real fun time here. Alright, I think what I'm going to do is we're going to continue to give out prizes the sheet says. They should still be good prizes, and at the end, if people are frustrated what they got, just reach out to me and we'll figure something out. Because, like...
How long is that a size vegan stayed in the server?
A very long time, actually. Like, a pretty surprisingly long time. I think that was added a few months ago. But regardless. Alright, I'm just gonna go back to... Sorry, go ahead. What was that?
That's a good sticker. I like it.
It's solid. Alright, cool. Having done that, I've just sent Jimmy this, and I'm gonna continue sending out presents. We're now... God, how many people I still need to send? We're also... I do want to make sure... I might end up stopping the stream before we get to the end. 2 people never submitted prize rankings, so I'm just gonna let everyone who's on the stream just help me set them out of devs of what they're still remaining, so...
I will be claiming 1 hobo shape.
Oh, wait, that's you. You're going to enter the contest and get a hobo sheep?
Have we made something that's worse on paper than the hobo sheep?
No.
Run utility?
Absolutely not. The hobo sheep is so bad.
Wait,
Yeah.
what does it do?
Nothing.
I don't. Yeah, I think it's 2 familiars at once. Like all of the gear familiars used to be, and I don't think it does anything of note other than that.
Is
Oh,
that
well, that drops wool every 11 fights, but the
Well,
wool
it doesn't make any use for
basically,
anything.
yeah, it's basically useless. And in October, we get the Jill, which does everything that the hobo shape does and more.
Well, the is supposed to be good, unlike the hobo sheep.
I do canon, like, why is hobo sheep a thing? Like, is this just like Jick just being kind of like, this is fine?
I think it's not supposed to be good. It's I don't like Maiden very much, and it's not a tradition and not out of a care to be good. And it gives you never actually got hot numbers. I mean, there was some talk earlier in the year about buffing the ocean, and I do it, and it was actually a moment, and it didn't happen. So it might just be better.
I mean, to be fair, there's still 1 month for it to get buffed while it isn't the store. So I'm just saying, you know.
It needs to be buffed so that the fresh coat of paint can remain the worst.
It does sometimes happen where the powers of the like, yeah, we're open to like it'll provide buffs, and then the conversation obviously is something else, and then just put off hands. That's probably what she's saying.
That sounds right.
Just need to promise that it'll come Ascension relevant in some path and some obscure way, just kind of shoehorn it in.
I just want to keep the fresh coat of paint as the worst so that I keep saying my favorite item is fresh coat of paint.
Fresh paint is good. I use Linkler.
It's fantastic. It's my favorite. It's because it's funny.
No, it's useful. It's the buffs in it have never been useless in way she's useless.
Yeah, I have to kind of
I've
agree.
more times than I want to admit. Like, on day 2, it's small. It's plus 40 spooky, which helps you sometimes. In another old Avatar, that was also 40 spooky, and that was the time where you really could get to 100 otherwise.
I feel like one of our paths, the elemental damage was to us. Yeah, it's the stuff for fight is useful in paths where levels and it's all different things, and something happens.
I strictly used equipped the main shirt a lot this path for the plus 5ness.
Yeah,
As a watched over Ascend, can you remind how many things in KOL are still random in the sense like the tower test with which element it is? Like, what is still random in?
In particular,
Ingredients.
Yeah, cooked
Oh,
ingredients.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, so the ones that
That's
drop.
not taught.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Also, the quests aren't seeded either, or if they are, it's seeded according to what we don't understand and never will. I never will, and seminars probably online by the end of this
Sorry,
week.
that's for Shadows, for the Shadows?
Well, those quests aren't what we're gonna do, but
Those are, I don't know, those are seated. Because I told T-Wires, so I never seated.
yeah, that's probably fine. But the cook that personal quests to get extra items, I think is also seeded, or at least
Those are in fact seated because we intend to use them.
that's right.
Just wonder if design space merit to like have something that allows to set all elemental tests and run to a certain element at the start of not connected to sort of thing. I wonder if that is actually how useful that would actually be.
Other practical way to do that would be, if I gave you all the bots at once, like a monkey's paw.
It's true.
That's true. It's a little hard to do something that de-randomizes things, and I just make it easier for cycling. It just solves the problems. But hot damage is always solved because of us anyway. I think once we're on it's cold always solved. So
Well, I mean, with Cleaver, everything is solved.
Yeah, the test.
For Cleaver, all things are possible, but yes, that is fair. I do think that Stench, quietly, especially in the current, like, even how Wars currently set up, Stench is actually very easy. You just need to get, like, one natural ID drop, and you need to get 2 IDs of trading elements crap you have for drops to the crap war. Well, that's fair. I mean, usually like 8 to 9 normal fights, I guess in hardcore you get a few less than that, right, Tess?
You only do 5 normal fights, which monkeys have all of.
Yeah.
How many normal fights do you do in the war before you master everything?
That's a good question. The answer, I don't know. I got wrong. I run some clearly not qualified answer. I mean, I know that's I don't know what you're supposed to do if you're being optimal. I know how many fights to get the areas unlocks like every Sunday does, but look, it was my first time executing a strategy. Like,
Well, I'm just meeting on you this fight.
yeah.
Here's an actually hot take. Should I can't remember whether the Dread songs should they A be nerfed or be like be made no longer evergreen?
I don't get those things personally.
Yeah, they're fine. Like, realistically, I think they're at a good power level where they are helpful, but they're not defining. I mean, to your point, it does trivialize to a power test, but there's the rest of the power test you can run, like Guardians. I think the only ones that aren't are, I guess, Suki isn't totally trivialized. You have Dirge, you have a few other souls that help you with that, and then Sleeves, ironically, like, quote unquote, isn't trivialized, but you already have a bunch of stuff. You have the War, you have stuff from focusing on Sleeves half or Professor. I haven't had a problem with damage tests for a long time. I think there's a slight problem with Loathing in some situations, but it wasn't like a terrible thing that you had to remember around.
Yeah, it's really difficult now. Perhaps there are other paths where you're restricted.
I'm pretty sure we've pulled the deck loot playing cards in like every half for the past however many paths it's been, but it kind of not been playing, and that's obviously fun.
I actually did not pull it until the last run I did in the math, now the third run of the math, but like, my thought was basically a one-turn pull, but then I realized how advantageous it would be to get red shoe early because of how
Is
bad.
a one-turn also see the clover? The clover is value?
Yes, although the clover, again, it's like it saves the clover, but it's not necessarily like it's not a one-to-one. It's weird. It's like one pull that's kind of worth 2 pulls, but it's weird. There are some like weird math happening with it. On the first one, I was like, I don't think this is worth it. I think it's fine to pull off.
Yeah, my thought was if you're going to pull the clover, you might as well pull it in.
Yeah. For me,
If it costs your Scepter of Hand effect, then it's effectively also costing Clover.
That's true. Yeah, it's weird. It is weird.
I still think what is it, way too much humanity? I still think we need if we have to save way too much humanity. If you finish the entire Masters before you ever see it.
but doesn't it
That
not
doesn't
cost a
hurt.
turn?
Yeah,
It's free. It's just funny.
It's just funny to yeah, that's fair. Okay, I get what you're saying now. That is indeed funny to just skip that entirely. Alright, let me. We're almost at the people that actually get to like decide the thing. Alright. And do you have any other fun, just like general lapsed speedrun questions that you want to pose to us? Fair enough. Let's see.
Something I don't think about with strat.
And now you can think about the worst strat. So,
I'm not expecting to last too much longer as current form. It's a little too working. I mean, we already nerfed the green soldiers years and years ago when we went over 2 smoke bomb drops to 1. I think ideally we just saw this argument about quest. I think that it's more likely that happens. I'd say something that happens was like 3 years ago. But yeah, also I'd say something released the interaction between Sniffing and Advantage is a little too different from this.
I just had no one asked me what is with strat, and I was going to go into detail, but I guess. Yeah.
I just think you're making a sausage joke and didn't want to hold you.
No, actually with strat.
Well, Bane, what is it?
What is it?
Yeah, tell us.
Well, I'm gonna fire some shots at Scotch. Back on Monday was actually hard.
Why are you firing shots at me? I did like a year after you.
No, I'm joking. It's Scotch's achievement at Archery, but it wasn't exactly clear whether it was possible or not to feast the boys. I was looking at all the horrible ways I could get turned in. And what you can get turned in is that on a Saturday, and only on Saturday, you can go to I forget what it's called now. It's like Alice Wonderland adjacent Alice Wonderland. Yeah. So you can use looking guys go to that place, and the shop sells a plushie. It's a stuff watch or something, and you can play with that if you have 10 turns or more remaining for a chance of getting either anywhere from 10 to plus 10 turns. So if you really need to turn, you could like pretty much risk everything on the Saturday to try and load the that. It almost came to that, and it was awful.
There was a similar strategy with the minor coin at the point, right?
I think with the memory coin there was a like in theory it was just a plus 30 turn pull. It's just that it would break half of your runs if you tried it, which was like I think that one of the problems in backing up on is that like at least back in the day when again 2 one day runs were hard. You largely doing it first of all in hardcore where you wouldn't be able to pull something because you want to do one day hardcore path instead of one day softcore path. But I think that by the time the My Army coin came out, it was like, do you actually want to just like get all your stuff ready, find like the perfect day, which is Feast of Boreas, you got all this stuff going, you got all like a perfect clover setup, etc. And then give your run a 50% chance of just breaking before you start, right? Because if you're at a turn place where you need those 30 turns, losing those 30 turns means you just can't finish the run.
Yeah, I think that a lot of these items actually benefit if they just said while in run, like in a standard run, they don't work, or like always give you action, and then this solves the problem.
I agree. I think it's really funny that we silently made the thing out with numerology for small path. Actually, I don't know how widely this is known, but it is hilarious. As part of limiting all of the ways to get extra organ space in small, one of the things that gives extra organ space is the manual of numerology rolls. It gives you anchor day 1 positive 3 drunkenness. And in small, this silently makes when notation is doing this to always give you positive drunkenness and extra
I remember you mentioning it.
Yeah, I mentioned this. I'll show it. It's very funny.
Well, now everyone will know because I'm added to the wiki.
So Scotch, what's the 0 day running?
Zero Day Run it's coming soon. I'd argue I don't love Zero Day Runs this year because unlike most years where I do like 20 to 30 just random challenge path unrestricted runs, I've done zero this year. I think I've just done like my 3 small runs. I have like 5 hour Shadows over Living runs and then the Smart Path again. Legacy Building, I think I did like 3 small runs as well. So basically only my standard this year, which means
There are some asterisks or white lead 1/0 runs and sessions for various sorcerer's copy bugs. Those count.
actually.
I was about to say, I wonder if you've ever had any like, negative turn runs. And then I can't stop enough. I wonder what's the possibility that I kind of actually done this before I said.
I could see doing that. That feels like a canon thing.
If it's ever possible, I will risk do it.
I mean, surely
That's
if you somehow 2 to power 2 minus 1 turns and then play another turn, wouldn't it roll over?
No, because I'm pretty sure that the way it works in the hood, not to be technical, like you're making, is that when you ascend, it stores your turns played, and then it checks your turns played when you break the prism, and turns played never resets. So you could theoretically find a way to get your turns played flag changed, and that would result in a negative turn run, but you need like a sequel injection bug to do that. So
That would be a pretty bad bug.
I mean,
we have bugs like that. And they're bad. We have a lot of those. I know there's one 9 years ago, but the Zap one was a sequel injection.
That's not great.
Whatever your turns played, I imagine it's a 64 to enter. Yeah, I'm gonna go 40 turns this game.
Probably not, but that's not it.
Yeah.
Some turns played having a real stupidly high number.
I doubt even hit a billion.
But wasn't there that one bug where you could click on the banner and think of increment turn count without saying picture? You clicked that 2 billion times.
They not think having a quest. That's only what since like requests and like but
I know some people do this. I'm just having 0 and doing something that's increment the count now.
oh, it's like my run for high school where you pull the walkie-talkie and changing your channel to walkie-talkie. That's my turns. Like, a break win.
Is that your 100% anti?
Yeah, that one. No, that was just a different bug. That was just a way to end them. KOL also was using the walkie-talkie to break win. It was a 1/1 It's like that.
Interesting. Just so you all know, I'm now in chat because we reached 2 of the people that didn't crisis, and I'm trying to decide what to actually give them. We have a few things swimming. I don't want to give them train sets because I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love for train set to survive long enough for Sonar to get one, because I really want to give Sonar a train set. I also don't think that actually the way that shit. But
I suggest we not reprise.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think there's no way that Sonar will get a train set. I'm sorry, buddy. But for these 2, though, I don't actually know what's a good prize because we also don't have any green boxes for them. So I have no idea what they own, and I have no idea how they would want to rank for prizes.
Scotch, how about? I think I have a train set. I'll sort out somehow.
Okay, cool. That'll be your main prize, I guess. But what do y'all think? What should we do for JAD and Jesus Cristo? So the train set would be like the highest meat option that we've got left.
I have a very important suggestion.
Yes, what's up?
So Goldie just posted a Pingu gif. I like to have Pingu defining, but none of them wear clothes.
Wait, what?
did not
No, it's not a joke. It's
No,
real.
this is a joke. Yeah, no, I'm thinking about this. That's disturbing. Thank you.
Are anyone wearing, say, the one trousers?
No, trousers, right? These are the things with clothes.
But what about the never mind.
I also think there might be some money laundering involved.
This is deep Pingu.
Yeah, deep Pingu law. Yeah, there's something on there. And also, I think his father might be abused. Please come with the prize. I'm not trying to
Yeah, that's reasonable. I think that's important. So I guess Parkas might actually be a reasonable one. That's not the highest meat one. Highest meat I think will actually be train set ones left. Let me look through this. Original train set 150 million. Yeah, that's right. We could also. I don't know. How do you think? Parkas? I feel like that's like a funnier option. It isn't the highest meat option, but it's like the highest ascension option left. And it's still like 100 million meat. I mean, it's not like nothing. Yeah, I'm just gonna do Parkas. That seems totally good to me. Alright, cool. Thanks, folks. Cool. Return to ship, please. That's a fair point. You know what? That's valid. I'm sorry for we're shit talking.
Was anyone else scarred live when they watched Courage the Cowardly Dog and the Return the Slab episode?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
That was so scary that I still haven't got over it.
Yeah, I will say I do appreciate that the Return of this episode is now like officially a part of KOL, given that we fight so many slabs every run. Because I now think about it like 3 times a run, every time he's a show brick, I think about it. It's great. I appreciate that.
Hey Scotch, did you do Jesus Cristo or Deity?
I just did Jesus Cristo.
I was wondering if that went to like 2 Snapchat. But it was for Jesus Cristo, and I think already sent it back.
It already said it, so unfortunately, that is just so done.
Now has 2 Parkas.
Yeah, now he's got 2 Parkas. It's all good. He's a 2 all good. No, yeah, like Parkas are.
Well, he's a fancy, I think it's the shirt rack, right? There's a shirt rack earlier, right?
It can be.
Is there? Stuffed shirt scarecrow? Wait, what does the scarecrow wear?
Pants.
Okay, yeah. No, you're right.
It's a fancy pants scarecrow.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry. Sorry, literally.
Yeah, it's one of the
Fuck that one up.
usually named familiar hashtags.
Alright.
I remember when I thought the fancy pants scarecrow was really good, because I was like, man, I can do everything with it. I only need to level it up once.
What was that?
It was a lazy option.
What was the
Yeah, but I thought familiar weight was useful.
what were the pants that gave the really good early game fairy? Was it the frilly skirt?
Was there an instant 32-pound ferry and a Spain Ligachi pants?
Yeah, the Mariachi pants were important, right? Like, not important, but like, it was something that was
Those
fast.
people do were very good because it's also a potato.
Yeah, it was just like made like really good. I don't have to think about it familiar, all this familiar so good type thing.
I'm very sorry for what's about to happen. Okay, Sam, there you go.
Oh no, what happened?
We're going to leash Hogwarts finally.
We're gonna be shit.
No, that's not everybody from Hogwarts.
What?
I don't know.
I don't think that's anybody from Hogwarts. So is Scotty even talk or have we still got Gauzy on?
It's all in my head, Scotch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
we'll
fair.
talk about it.
That's fair.
Scotch has given Gauzy a role. Gauzy is free.
Okay, let's see here. Package additional train sets and
There's gonna be some like mysterious chicken boys thing.
let's see. Next. Guys, we have so many prizes. We're already giving away 4.5 billion prizes. We aren't sending shit out. I'm guessing I'm going to stop this right so I can just do the rest of it like quietly because I can actually do this pretty quickly. It's just like I also want to talk to all my friends. Say all my friends. I guess Fred's fine now. All my friends, mine's
It's fine. I know that you don't care about me. I'm used to it.
damn. Yeah.
Scotch, have you changed your alarm theme? Have you changed your alarm theme to the song theme and the theme song yet?
No, but I did play that on her birthday. So I'm big. I'm very big on doing random bits for no reason. We're actually I just ordered a really large yarmulke for our 12-foot skeleton, so that's gonna be a really fun time for on there.
For a song, for one, the song is kind of slap.
It's not bad. It's not. She found that incredible. Okay, I guess it's not late in the stream. I'm probably gonna end the stream sooner or later, so I might as well release now. There's also going to be an extra prize for 100% familiar runs, which I don't think this will happen in future contests because now that we've done this once, I think we're just never going to get anyone doing non-100% familiar run for the contest again, given how much more value it was to do it. But you're also going to be getting, courtesy of the Great Haxie, 1 Ho-Oh sheep for every 100% familiar run, as well as one for Friggly as well to celebrate his incredible achievement. So
Do you think that more people than actually bought this contest?
yes, I think that is absolutely correct. So as a result, after I send all of these out, I will be manually going through and sending 1 Ho-Oh sheep to every single person that did a 100% familiar run, which is 13 people, which is a lot. And why is it so bad?
It's really bad. I got nothing. It's so bad.
It's especially weird because like last year was like the best item of the year of all time by an enormous margin.
So we don't really do testing for the items of the year. They kind of make them, and they're going to present to us before in the way that items them on parts. And I wouldn't say that Jake has a very good understanding of what's good and not, and also that he was concerned about making it good. I think not actually.
That is fair. That is fair.
When it's good, the best way to keep it is to say nothing until it's too late to change it.
That is also fair.
I also feel like towards the end of the year, I guess they all had an approach to getting a big amount of like KOL at the end of December. Like they're used to coming out with ideas and like stuff very quickly in like between December and Christmas, New Year's. So it's like different to the rest of the work that they do. I think
That is fair. I think I have one question that probably will just stop the prize after a few minutes and questions. But someone asked, I have 100% contest Jills. I would say basically all of them actually. And I think I take it personally that ours that decided to release the easiest 100% familiar of all time 1 month into the contest after I already said I was going to give an extra miss rate when did 100% familiar run.
Oh yeah, this is really funny.
As soon as I saw it jump in, I was like, oh, okay, so I'm just going to give out 40 necessaries, right? Thankfully, I don't need to give out 40. I'm giving out, I think, 15 for the contest. But technically, there were like 10 that were Jill, 1 Black Hat, 2 Eagle, and 1 Girl. I was actually a little surprised nobody did 100% Goose run, which I think would actually been pretty much fine. Like, all of the top runs were 100% Goose, at least like 78% Goose, and I think it could have been done. It would have been fine, but anyways.
Oh,
That claims to challenge Scotch.
Wait, what claim has been challenged? Oh yeah, I said, do you actually mean to submit the Goose run? Because Fred said that you meant to submit the run.
I like to blame Fred when Fred's not here. It's the great one.
Also, I would note, Jillian, it's 10 million for recommendation if you've never gotten one before. I don't know whether I need to look at the content page. I checked like the rules that I had written down at 10 million there. If I completely look that up and I can send more, I can do that. I just crap. All right, well, it's just something I guess I'm gonna need to collect 50 million for envelopes and do that. But I'll figure that later.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised in my run we're all like 66% Goose.
Yeah, I was expecting more other players, but then I don't mind Goose for that one. That's fine. All right, well.
Did anyone use Cube at all?
Yeah, of course.
I was in hardcore, yes, but
Yeah, for hardcore you use Cube. Sorry, I forgot.
in software I did not use playing. I was like, this is fine. I'm getting a zap one anyway. There's no reason to.
I said that you said nothing I do just in case.
Yeah, that's
I mean, we were using Play, right? So it was very possible to have to do daily hit.
So we just play it.
I can probably also.
I don't put it on the internet.
It goes to balance the peak.
Yes, that's 30%. I think the thing saying with is incredible.
But we bring up the correct way to say Clark is right?
Sure. You know what? Yes, sure. That's the correct way. This is the way. All right. Any other questions that the chat wants us to deal with before I sign off, set up ranking 30 prices, and fix the errors and sending out people?
Mr. Roy.
Yeah, I was not. So again, maybe not using this. I remember one point, and we were talking like this will never be a problem, right? I was like, no, that's not gonna be a problem. I did it as a math, like there's things that doesn't matter. And like, yeah, that's fine. It was literally.
You say that it should never be good. I'm trying to make it good, and it's good.
It's not even
It's
anything for this.
just that we haven't really had anything after it.
Though to be fair, I think that it wasn't necessary because of the cool effect sound with similar effects.
Yeah, look good. Yeah, there's some ideas previously, but ideas don't pan out.
Bonus, having your stats went to 101 makes all bones much easier.
Yeah.
You know, it was like straight up the correct thing to do. And it's fun. I mean, the effect is enjoyable. I hope the effect's still because I think that's like
I like the same
it's not like bubble basically anywhere else. So it is very very funny for specific use case.
I do like mechanics.
Right. Let's see. Any other crossing service will release of needs to get banned. I think that's completely understand that. I do think like I don't consider it's very very fun to theorize about. I do think Psycho probably is kind of a pain in the ass. And to your point, again, like possibly if there's a timer for something that happens that makes it less runtime, I would be ban that personally.
I would like to give a word that seems very unlikely, so I didn't do it.
Yeah. Is there any other?
Time for someone to do something awful with it. Standard.
Oh yeah, that's don't worry. I'm gonna do yearly. Try and do.
I'll get it for January.
Yeah, I'm gonna do yearly. Let's try and figure out how you can get with the standard set in December, probably around the middle of the month before I forgot what it is. But I worry there's gonna be one like stupid degenerates like absolutely insane run that breaks my brain and makes me never want to play again before the year.
That's for being a speed is like you no longer actually do speed ascend.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can add 9 points.
It is actually. All right, big in the chat for left who is not here with us right now, but I'm sure would want to be here if he's still play KOL, like play KOL.
He's an Apex legend. We've lost him to Apex legend.
This is true. And my other games. I think he's like Celeste, like god tier players. I don't know. Lift is awesome. I love Lift. Yeah, he's super
I know
nice.
that he's just like stupidly good at video games, but interesting.
I will give people maybe like I'm gonna talk about that. So another random run that you want to go over.
Let me track.
I will talk about why Jalen was not at your wedding.
That was my wife. My wife explicitly said that I was not allowed to bring the foot skeleton to the wedding. I don't know if I was actually done. So because I was not allowed to bring the foot skeleton to the wedding, I bought the tallest not foot skeleton I could, which was like 6 feet-ish, and I dressed in one of my suits and put it in the crowd for my wedding. So when I was walking down the aisle, she noticed that there was just a random skeleton or one of multiple suits in the crowd, which got a good loud for the professional witness. Unfortunately, someone got way too drunk and broke the skeleton in half, but yeah, it's okay.
Have you considered running away with Jalen?
I considered, unfortunately, it's very hard to run because of bone gravity.
This must be very confusing for people who have no idea who Jalen is.
Jalen is my velvet skeleton. I bought Jalen the same day that I bought my wife's engagement ring. So I would.
Purchase was the important one.
Well, exactly. But,
Think about how many Jalen's could have bought that engagement ring.
Well, they always say you spend 3 times your monthly salary on your skeleton.
exactly. I'm the drill meme about candles, except it's I buy too many with skeletons, and it's like why do you keep buying this? I'm just for a skeleton.
How it all functions. If you ever had issues with like sea level, you maybe start and into some type of boat. Maybe
I'm
sometimes.
surprised the ceiling guard didn't have a house like a dwelling. We should have done
I think that actually would have been a good. I think that dwellings are in general underused. I think that's a fun concept that's generally just like not like really happy that they were dead leaves, even though it didn't help. But anyways, sorry.
Oh yeah, here's something. So, in attempting to squeeze out as much item per as possible, I used a bunch of very terrible sources. Water balloon is one that was very obviously good. It was 10% item, 40% meat for the nuns, and it's also really long, but it could stretch into the later part of the run. There was off-hand which turned the umbrella from plus 25 plus 50 item, and it's also casting oyster eggs.
I guess you two absolutely have heard of that. The universe where you don't.
Yeah, and it paid off because it gave me item and the meat eggs.
That's pretty awesome. All right. Anyone in the chat wants to see my skeleton, just make sure to live. So.
I just searched my history for Lander. I got some SD jokes now.
See
Some
what
of them had, would you like a Mario Skittle Lander?
Good.
Also, a diary entry from Scotch Lander's life because he didn't one more giant total of the.
Good. And I see in the chat regarding turn John Day hardware. I think that in standard it's not. I don't think that is possible as small as the closest that we gotten to being possible, and I think that was close enough that made me a little worried. That's one of the reasons why like and I kind of hope it gets nerfed, because if there are really, really powerful things that come through next year, I could see that being
things that would be so I'd be very curious if we figured out
but to answer the question though,
yeah.
turn gen one day hardware would be very, very hard. In some of the core problems that you run into is that you do need to execute even in I guess one day where you theoretically could just do rounds through 8-bit for a 25 turn loss instead of doing the stupid that solution.
You would still do nothing.
Yeah, like to your point though, Tess, I think it's sad because it just cuts so many turns if you execute it correctly. Realistically, I think you would need about 400 turns rate, which is small and not impossible. I think I'm more than 400 honestly, probably 420. Was it? Maybe in like 450.
Yeah, that may in hardcore.
Yeah, I think hardcore you can maybe get to 400, but yeah, I think you maybe get to 400 with like some really stupid bullshit like the plus adventures in Mountain Buff and doing like that with your goblet turns and a few other things. Like there's probably a few ways you can eke out more you're expecting, but I think 400 is about what you could get, and I think you needed 420 to be real off. That said, that is the closest that I think you've ever gotten to one day hardcore standard. Actually, I think 20 50 turns is kind of like almost within your DD. But in non like
You still can't take Casio, which means you will get a significantly less Seiko.
yeah, you would, and you can't really miss that with this either. Yeah, I would never go sure because they use 2 pulls on. I think 1 pull plus 30 turns on plus 10 to kind of never know for my software run. But what on earth is that?
The woman from Bathgate's Shackleton. I don't know who made it.
That
In
was so.
Jalen knew how to flush the toilet.
Last week it was possible to use Thrash instead of Veggie software, but nobody did, so whatever.
I think it was cool. I'm not sure that was. It was important. It was also within my turn. I was just like, I don't fail out on this run. So, and it was also like I got to a high enough familiarity point that I was able to around every one of the graphs I got. So I was like, I need to go through a bunch of extra like weird things for I completed. So, all right. I think unless there are any questions, I'm here not for 2 hours. Or like whatever. I'm going to go and finish that afterwards. I'll put up the final meet total of the events out for this contest afterwards. Anybody who didn't get the random combination bonus, please send me that up. Having me in contest discussion or send me a DM, I will try to make an out for that sometime tonight. In terms of the repository, I don't think the repository got tonight as the thing that is looking. screenshot. Where is it? There's a handful that I haven't actually added to hardcore sheet using the weird formatting that I do to make runs easier to read. I might still post this publicly so that you can see the ones that are added. Let's add the rest of them next week. But yeah, I think this was a contest. I'm definitely going to have at least 30 prizes left over afterwards. So my thought is that going into the new year, we're absolutely doing this again. I don't know the first challenge of the year, but I think there's a pretty high likelihood that either summer or the winter there's going to be another contest similar to this one with potentially a different theme. So yeah, any concluding thoughts? I test a handful of things you just said, Dan and Thoth. Anything else?
Nothing else on my end.
I was
I think I wanted to reward everyone waiting for, but yes, go on, myself.
Well, this isn't sort of an idea. This contest was going to be speed and path the contest. Too many frills, because it didn't everything you were intending, which was to get more people to learn to speed community.
Yes,
So,
I think
obviously,
we
your pressures.
I think we 100% executed on getting people to like this path had notably more people that participated in it, not than the thing, which makes it super cool. So definitely more than I think anyone had memory, and obviously a lot of people weren't always awesome. So I also did want to shout out anyone else who were listening, anyone who's not listening. You all did an absolutely heroic job at your developing through the contest. I think the fact that Penny's run got progressively faster, got faster to the point where we had to just like, hey, we're just gonna Penny's start count here. This whole goddamn shit, you guys completely nailed it. That was pretty fun. So really, really great job, as a crew, and great job to everyone who participated. Great job to AIM for creating a board. Great job to all the people who donated prizes. I'm actually off here since this thing will be saved. Give me 1 second. So the prizes included myself, Sweetle, Belder, Campfire, Hackseat, Animus, Somersaulter, Tiger and Enet, Purple Shrimp, Naked Lambs, Burning Beeman, and Nendra, Asmus, Play Ultimate, Monkeyman 200, Free Bullet Hamburger, and of course, Buster Rhymes. So thank you all of you. Thank you all, Spencer. Big thank you to everyone who listened to the stream.
I want to shout out Scotch because this was your baby. I know that people made it happen with you, but the brunt of everything, everyone enjoyed it. It was a fun contest. It was well executed. I can see the work you put into it, and I just want to say thank you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
I
that.
wanted to what we'll have stayed to the end by being high is that there are like 4, maybe 5 big projects going on in KOL in Amazing, and there's also very exciting stuff and cool things coming between now and the end of the year. So,
I'm firmly hyped. I'll put it that way. All right, great streaming the contest. Thanks everybody, and I will see you.
Bye, guys.